My name is Dr. Mohamed Osman. I am the National Economic Advisor to the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia. I am also a member of the National Economic Council. I also resume other responsibilities in academia and research. I work as sub-regional representative for the United Nations University for Peace, covering Middle East and Eastern Africa region, and particularly focusing in Somalia. I'm also involved in humanitarian and climate resilience across the region as the CEO of and founder of Southern Development and Resilience Institute. And I also do other responsibilities in Africa and globally.
Thank you.
You work part. Well, just to give a background on Somalia's effort to join the East African community, it is not something that started today or last year. It's almost over a decade when Somalia submitted its bid to join the East African community, which are really countries that are already have strong trade and social connections with Somalia. And Somalia also does the same. Over the last, since 2012-13, our interest and our effort to join membership have gone through several stages, of which I can say it has taken its greatest momentum when President Hassan Sheikh has been re-elected in 2022, where he went and met with the heads of states of the East African community members and communicated strongly and vividly the message of the Somali Federal Republic, which was actually our commitment and readiness to join. The East African community, upon the request of the heads of states, dispatched a verification mission, which went very successful, and we've all seen that the verification report was adopted, which actually led in late May this year the heads of states to request instruct or give directives, I can say, the Secretariat of the East African Community to commence the negotiation process, and that's why we are here today. For the past 10 days, we have been sitting and engaging in one-on-one dialogue and serious negotiations with the members of the community partner states. There was a huge delegation from the partner states. We discussed on three main pillars. The first main pillar was the political and legal framework, to make sure that there is harmonization or discover the differences in terms of the political and legal frameworks we do have as Somalia, and in comparison of what East African community has in place already, partner states have in place already. The other thing was looking at the trade and economic aspects, where issues around customs, issues around tariffs, issues around economic policies and trade policies, and to see to what extent we are harmonized and we can harmonize, and then looking at the treaty of the East African community, which is actually robust, which talks about everything in relation to the politics, legal and economic and trade. The last thing was looking at the social and infrastructure aspects. The East African community has gone very far, and I commend the level of development they reach in terms of infrastructure and social development, social sector. They have a very well developed infrastructure, policies, strategies, and investments that are already going on. And so the social sector in terms of health, education. So we had a very, very in-depth negotiation and discussion on all these three clusters or pillars, and I'm really proud to say that Somalia and East Africa have come to a conclusion where we were able to finally come up with an agreement on throughout the areas of discussion and negotiation, and signed a negotiation report, which will be forwarded to the summit, to the upcoming summit in late November, by the heads of states of East African community. And we have high hopes that there is going to be a good news coming from that summit, which is going to be accession of Somalia or admission of Somalia into the community. Well, of course, it is undeniable that Somalia has gone through tough times, which have taught or has taught the Somali people resilience and ways to really integrate and thrive compared to before the civil war. We have the largest diaspora for the first time in our history, living and thriving all over the world, here in East Africa and also globally. Of course, Somalia is not the Somalia of the 1990s and or early 2000s. We have a functioning federal government. We have federal member states. There are challenges there and then, but of course the country has really gone through a robust process of state building, and we are really somewhere now quite remarkable. What we are offering to the region, number one, is our experience. We know that what happened in Somalia is not an isolation case. It's not a unique case. It can happen everywhere. Somalia would definitely bring in a huge experience in terms of state building from the security perspective, but also the Somalia would definitely making easy or doing business with its East African partner states would facilitate the free flow of resources and investment from the Somali side to the East African side, which is already happening, by the way, interestingly, from Kinshasa to Kismayo, Kigali, Kampala to anywhere in Somalia. The Somali business is flowing, and Somali businesses are going everywhere. So one of the interesting things in the negotiation is that these countries are familiar with Somalia. We have Kenya, we have Uganda, we have Burundi, who are already contributing to the African Union transitional back called AMISOM, now ATMIS, and they are part of the state building. They are familiar that Somalia is not the Somalia of the past, and Somalia is recovering. We know that our security now agenda, our national security, is led by the Somali army. It is no longer relying on foreign hands. So despite the challenges we have gone through, we will be now bringing a lot of opportunities. One of the opportunities that we know that a lot of these countries in the community, some of them or a good number of them are landlocked, or they are far from the mainland. You have Kenya and Tanzania on this side, and you have DRC on the other side of Atlantic Ocean. So Somalia could be a gateway to connect the East African community to Middle East, to the Arabian Peninsula, up to China. Somalia also has a huge maritime and marine resources, which could be the food basket for this region. Somalia has also huge mineral reserves, and of course a very entrepreneurial society. So I see us coming. What we see is what we will do for the region, rather than what we will benefit. And I'm impressed with. Well, I think there is a very popular saying that always answers to those who have skeptics. Mahatma Gandhi, the founding father of the great Indian Republic, had a wonderful say: you must be the change you want to see in the world. What I see is what I can become, what Somalia can become, regardless of those who have the skeptics. Of course, there are positive skeptics and there are negative skeptics. The positive skeptics are those who care about Somalia, who want to put Somalia first. I understand them, and I think those are the ones we want to really get the highest, the biggest number of, in the highest level of contribution. But for those who have negative skeptics, I think I would tell them that there is no single country that can thrive in today's world in an isolation. Somalia can no longer be in an isolation. The world is moving towards towards regionalization, towards becoming economic blocks. You see with BRICS, you see what is happening with how the Europeans are coming together. You see how Americans are forging bilateral and multilateral trades. To put Somalia as a stakeholder or an important player in the international community is Somalia to be part of networks and existing blocks that would make Somalia relevant. If we remain in the current situation where we are isolated, we will have no friends, and will be less relevant in global stages. The other thing, I think bargaining is very important. You cannot bargain alone. Somalia now needs to bargain, and we are very good in bargaining. We are very good business people. I believe that Somalia becoming part of trade blocs and economic blocs would not only help itself, but also would definitely attract and contribute its business bargaining capacity. It is inherent capabilities to negotiate businesses at the regional and global level. So I think on the other hand, the member partner states in the region also understand that by isolating one single country will not help and guarantee their security and their prosperity. So we should not leave no one behind. I mean, we should be together. And I think that was the message we received from the partner states in the East African community. Well, Malcolm X, who is well known, said, future belongs to those who are prepared for it today. I think we have a national development plan, which is now on the 9th national development plan. We have a clear, in our national development plan, we have clear priorities. We are now currently writing our centennial vision 2060, which is actually the 100th anniversary since our independence to 2060. We have priorities around economic, trade, social transformation, national security, regional security, and also environment and climate. One of the quick wins that we foresee would be happening for Somalia. Number one is the customs union. We have an evolving and customs systems, thanks to the international community, thanks to our capable public sectors, public servants in the ministries of finance at federal and state level who are working on unification of the customs system. So we hope that in the next 12 to 24 months to really at least start the integration process, which would allow the Somali businesses to flow into the region. We know a lot of people in Somalia or in the diaspora would like to establish businesses, small factories, but we know that the Somali market within the Federal Republic might be smaller, or of course is smaller compared to the larger market of over 400 million people. So if a young man in UK or in the US wants to establish a factory in Kismayo or in Mogadishu and is wondering where would you export, here you are. Yeah, you will definitely export to Kenya, Rwanda, Kigali, Kinshasa. That would definitely allow a lot of people to start manufacturing inside Somalia rather than importing from China and all the way creating jobs inside Somalia. I know a lot of people talk about and actually I have a lot of friends who are willing, who ask me how can we start businesses, and who are worried the limited market they have inside Somalia. I think that is one of the benefits. The other benefit is the common market. The common market talks about free movement of labor and capital. It's actually happening now in a sense which is actually very organic, very traditional, but we hope that as the integration process starts, that there's going to be a movement of capital. I'm talking about in financial capital and also labor too, which will definitely spark opportunities inside Somalia and also in the partner states within the East African communities. We know we have a very vibrant people who are returning from diaspora, people who are already, especially the youth, who are very active and looking forward to get experiences. One of the interesting things is also the social sector. We know we have a very young and but also growing sports industry. I was really impressed that within the East African community there are over 600 football clubs. I could only imagine how much my people, the Somali youth, would be willing to have the opportunity to exercise with their counterparts in Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, DRC, Congo, which would improve our our capabilities in global within the continent and the global stage to have such experience. So those are the low-hanging fruits that we foresee happening in the near future. But of course, is gonna be happening in a phased strategy. Those things that will not happen at the same time.